Welcome to Deep Thought. Don't let anxiety create a negative result. And this is a little bit of a continuation from it. And you notice that I do a lot of videos, or rather podcasts, on depression and also anxiety, because I really do want to stress the importance of being in the now. We being in the now. Because the thing with depression is it really is based on thinking about the past and what you could have did, and you get sad because of it, right? And then anxiety, you're thinking about the future and you're already worried. But I'm gonna focus more on anxiety, because having anxiety can actually create the negative result that you fear, right? I'll give you an example. I'm not going to call the dude's name, but he expressed some anxiety about going into certain neighborhoods. Right? You know, dude didn't grow, he wasn't about that life growing up, and that's cool. But he expressed anxiety. Here's the problem with that. If you going into, or anybody who's grown up in a rough neighborhood, I've grown up in a rough neighborhood. If you have anxiety, what happens is that's fear. Like if somebody's going to attack you or anything, you're going to walk in to that neighborhood showing some fear. Now, if it's someplace you don't live, or something like people don't know you, anybody who's been in those type of places know that showing fear or something like that is it's like catnip to the bad guys. And they're going to come for you. It's like if you show fear to a dog, they're going to attack you. So somebody going into a bad place showing anxiety, it'll hurt them, right? Another example, okay? I'm always known for the relationships. And many men in particular have approach anxiety. And because they have that, even when they approach a woman, the woman's turned off. Because that's showing in their being. So just even having that anxiety creates the negative result. And the negative result with a man approaching a woman is rejection. But his attitude actually created the rejection. I want y'all to think about that for a second. Because he already had anxiety that she would reject him, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So instead of approaching that woman with full confidence, listen to what I'm saying. With full confidence, right? Instead of doing it like that, right? He ended up approaching her. With full of anxiety, full of fear. So instead of approaching her like, hey, how you doing? He's approaching, he's stuttering. His body posture is bad. He's giving off fear. I don't know any women. I've yet to meet a woman who's turned on by a man's fear. Even the most controlling women don't want a fearful man. And let me say that again. Even the most controlling woman does not want a fearful man. Believe that. Believe that. So that anxiety just approaching a woman actually created the result. That happens in anything. I want people to think about times that you had anxiety about something and you were afraid something would happen. Then you go into the situation and you like, I was afraid this would happen. It happened because you were afraid it would happen. You go into it that way. You are already expecting the negative result. And your very actions actually you actually create the future with your actions. Because you creating how other people are going to respond to you. Think about it. Now, I always say be in the now. What if in the now you don't have an expectation? You don't have any anxiety. You just see, using the example of a man approaching a woman, you see that woman, you like, oh wow, she's fine. You just walk over. That's why when I tell men to approach, I'm people who follow my relationship advice to men, they know I'm not big on approaching unless the men use what I call the damn principle. And the damn principle is very simple. Only approach a woman if the word damn comes out your mouth. And even when you approach it, don't think about it, just go. Just go. Just be like, hey, how you doing? Do it before you start thinking, because if you start thinking, that's when anxiety comes in, and that's when you create the negative result. It's better to be in the now. Just be like, and that, you just say, hey, how you doing? All that. Don't have any expectation, anything. Therefore, you don't have any anxiety. You're more relaxed, right? You're not creating a negative result. See, understand something. Let me get into some deep stuff now. Let me get into some deep stuff. And because it's all connected. When people heard about psychic readings and stuff, right? And people, of course, or prophecy, tarot cards, all that stuff. Not a single one of them can predict the future. And the simple reason is, and anybody who say they predicting the future, they either lying to you, or they don't understand the real mechanics behind what they're doing, right? Let me say it again. They either lying to you, or they don't understand the mechanics behind what they're doing. The reason why you can't predict the future is it hasn't happened yet. Anything can change. But the method, whatever they do, however they do it, subconscious, or, for those in the New Age community, angels, spirit guides, however they do it, all they doing is reading how you are right there. The principle, and I've talked about this before, of course, and I've always used the example of a good mechanic. A good mechanic can look at a car and tell you what's going to happen and when it should happen. Like, they can look at tires and say, you're going to need new tires in a couple weeks. Or they can hear the engine and say, hey, you're going to need a tune-up pretty soon, right? They making a prediction right there, right? And that's what the readers do. But see, what the readers doing is they not looking at your tires. They subconsciously, one way or the other, they subconsciously looking at your spirit, right? Like, if I go in, if I'm in a place, like say I'm in a club, let me use I love the relationship example, because I think people get that. Everybody has some experience with a relationship, even if they're not in one, even if it's a total rejection, right? So if I see a group of guys, I'm gonna watch. I can make predictions on, if I'm like in their presence, I can make predictions on what's gonna happen, how they're gonna do if you put them in with a group of women. I'm going to make predictions. And it won't be based on their physical appearance, but it will be based on their behavior, and maybe, ask them a few questions, So I'll be looking at who's nervous, who's confident, who's doing what and where, right? And I'm making a prediction. So, and then people will say, oh, you reading them or something, or is that some psychic stuff? No. It's just knowing... it's actually a science when you get down to it. Metaphysics, any type of metaphysics is a science. But it's just like knowing, if you go into this situation like this, you're going to have X amount of problems. If a man approaches a bunch of women and he's nervous and he's giving off fearful energy, he's going to have a lot of problems. But then if I meet a man and he's very confident, he walks tall, I could say, okay, he's going to do well with these women, right? Because let's use the confident one. He's creating that future. Like, I'm going to tell you what, and this is something, I could halfway put this on my business page, right? My business channel. But someone can actually create their own success. They always, old saying is dress for success and stuff. A lot of times I can tell who's generally, if I'm around them, I can generally tell who's going to do something with their lives, or because it's like, I don't know what the future is, but I'm reading them at that moment, and I'm looking at little things, and I know what little things to look for to say, okay, this person's going to be successful. This person's a dreamer, everything. So that's an important thing, right? That's an important thing. You actually can create your future. Now, I'll probably get into this in future podcasts, but the thing with this podcast, understand anxiety, but don't let that help create a negative result. Don't let that become a self-fulfilling prophecy. All right? So anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to y'all later. Keep rising and transforming.